All right, everybody, good afternoon and welcome on back. Continuing along, of course, our Tuesday Post-Traders Talk edition, Tuesday afternoon here, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live right here in the Cyber Group Trading Room and streaming across social media, Facebook and YouTube alike. Welcome on back for our afternoon meeting. Let's get a quick sound check just to begin. Make sure everyone can hear me loud and clear. All right, no rest for the wicked. Great to see everybody here joining us. Jerry, Pat, John, Mark S, Mark H in tandem, Daniel, Guy, Scott, Jim, Greg, Dennis, and if you joined right on in, I apologize. You guys are coming in way too fast for me there. So great to see all of our students live in our trading room, and like I said, live across our social streams here. So let's hop into it. I mean, right now you can see the Dow beginning to slump off. Let me zoom out on my 1 minute chart, but at least for the meantime, so it pops up. The Dow right now is beginning to sink heading into this afternoon. Dow ended up opening up fairly strong, broke out going into the early to mid morning, but you could see since really didn't move up too much higher. Ended up kind of pulling back, flattening out a bit, and at least for the meantime here, beginning to break lower going into our Tuesday afternoon. So for right now, we'll come back to some of the side list stocks here. Here we have SR&E, a stock that one of our students just called out a moment ago. Hey, to begin, up 3%, not up a whole lot percent-wise, but we're very familiar with SR&E. Let me get this here and move this up. There we go. SR&E we're very familiar with. We ended up trading this stock at first going back into mid-May off of COVID vaccine news, ended up making a huge pop and run up the following pre-market, dumped back down, gapped up most recently here. And ever since we've had our eye on it, off and on. Perhaps we'll come back to this. It's up 3%, kind of near the highs. That's the part that I'm interested in, seeing if this will trend higher up towards that 750. We'll come back to it. But we ended up doing pretty well on a few other ones from this morning, guys. So we'll rip through the top of the gainers list to begin. And as we do that, we'll build up our list going into the afternoon. So this is the SR&E. All right, so to begin, CRVS here ended up making a huge pop early on in pre-market. And when I mean early on, I mean early, to the point where we weren't able to catch this at all. I mean, most pre-market opens up at 8 a.m. And even when the pre-market opened up for this stock, it was just kind of shaking, dropping back down a little bit. Best part about this stock leading into the morning, or the part that was most interesting to myself, this stock is easy to borrow from TradeStation. It's shortable for that matter. So, you hear me talk about this all the time in our live trading room here at this point. For a stock that's up, 50, 100+% leading into the market open, well, typically pulls back at the market open. And if it pops right out of the gate, I'll tell you, it's usually going to pull back shortly after. So this ended up popping right away here at this point. And I didn't catch this at first. On the way back down, though, I was looking to see, is this going to, hold a higher low, begin to build support, or is this going to begin to crash and act as a really good gap fill opportunity on the way back down? So with this CRVS trade, well, you could see at least the former happened, ended up beginning to build support pretty nicely off the 480 level, blasted over resistance. The opening bell print here at the time was resistance here. I think we had resistance right off of 504. That was the opening bell print here from 9:30, the market open. It ended up holding as support, crashed through it, held as resistance, but once it finally pierced through 504 in particular, lift off. This thing ended up making a very sharp move right up to the next major resistance up at 6. From there, things got pretty wonky, I gotta say, because ended up pulling back down, and I thought at that point this would begin to break lower. I was ready for a short opportunity on this trade. I did not short. It did not break lower. It ended up moving right back up. This thing ended up making a second or third wind here, ended up beginning to squeeze back up to hit an eventual high of the day, 688, before, well, now pulling back down. So, for this stock to be trading basically 89 million shares total at this point in the afternoon, stock trades 1.9 million shares on average. That's factoring in today, by the way, guys. So, I mean, really, I'd say prior to this morning, this stock is trading an average of 144,000 shares across the last 50 days. So to say this stock is a little exhausted would be kind of an understatement. I'm going to post the news just for this CRVS stock, guys, really quick. Just thought it was interesting. Initiating COVID-19 clinical trial. Post that in the live trading room, just here on the streams. All right. You know what? We'll come back to this. I just feel at this point it's just too heavily traded. I would love to see this just crash and burn, just see the stock just tank and we short it. That would be the hope for me at least. I'll come back to this though. I wouldn't mind giving this a second or third look by the end of this meeting. All right, one that I was not too surprised on really entirely, the ANVS. This was a really great pre-market trade. We called this out as soon as we opened up the trading room at 8 o'clock. Fausto put this on the pre-market watch list. Ended up making a fantastic squeeze at the time from 7, a little bit under 7, up towards the pre-market high, right around that 950 level. Now, for a stock again that's up as much as this was, well, we had the pullback. So at 9:30, this ended up dropping like a rock. Ended up making a nice squeeze up to 10, broke above 10 on a false breakout. Now at this point though, this low float stock dumping right back down. Wouldn't be surprised if this ends up making another shake going lower into the close. This HEPA trade, though, whereas the ANVS we didn't really do too hot on after 9:30. This HEPA trade we ended up doing really well on. Shortly after the market opened up, HEPA ended up making a strong pop, broke above resistance at the time, $3.30. Ended up making a very steady move up towards first high of the day, roughly around that 450 level. Ended up making a sharp pullback and a second run back up higher. This thing still seems to be holding pretty strong. I'd say the same to be said, though, with like CRVS. This stock is just very heavily traded at this point in the afternoon. 42 plus million shares. Prior to today, this stock is trading an average like 700, 800,000 shares. So you know what? For right now, I'll keep this on our main list, HEPA. We'll put this on our afternoon watch list, the main one. We'll come back to it, though, because if we have too many stocks just otherwise at the end of the meeting, if this one ends up just tailing back down, I'll just scratch it off. But for right now, this will make the cut. Still holding pretty well. Oof, look at this. MOGU. Mogu. Nice pop here. Ended up running yesterday. Very low volume, the stock trades. Prior to yesterday, this stock was trading an average of 86,000 shares on average. So, yeah, I mean, right now, I don't know. Is this all-time highs? No, far from. But given the range this stock has across the last year and a half, seeing this trade at the highs right now going into the close, I'm definitely going to add this to our list. I don't know the exact size of the float on this stock. My guess, fairly light. All right, let's keep it going. Market is dropping, guys. Dow is pretty much down to 26 here coming up. VSLR, though, I mean, a few of these are holding pretty strong in a down market here today. VSLR is trying to get back up towards resistance off of 15. You see a lot of volume filled off the first breakout of that level. Just took its sweet time and pulled back a little bit. But for right now, holding pretty strong. This one I'm going to add to our list. I like the fact also it's shortable. VSLR here ends up crapping out the other way. It would be a decent opportunity to try and short with profit takers. NVAX, Novavax. I don't know if this is all-time highs. I think it is. I gotta assume it is. No, far from. Another one. Wow. Far from an all-time high, but holy smokes, look at this gap here. Now, I don't know if reverse splits were factored into this, but damn, that's a big drop. Go from 160, 170 all the way down to sub 40. All right, well, a little pricey for us here. We're going to pass on this. All right, whip out the price. Just skim through the rest of the gainer side here, guys. See if there's anything else looking pretty good. We'll hop over to the loser side next. Ooh, TRXC, it's a cheapie. Normally wouldn't focus on this one. I actually meant to click on the RNWK trade. So let's go to that first. Trying to bounce back up for right now. Ran earlier today. Yeah, I mean, TRXC, look at the drop off on the daily chart. So this stock's been split like over and over and over here. Leads to a nice short squeeze here, perhaps. So yeah, TRXC will make our list. Maybe not number one on our list, but it'll make our list so far at the highs. Cheapy. Run kind of exhausted. Ran yesterday, gapped up pretty well this morning. Ran after the open, no pun intended. All right, we'll just kind of skim through here, guys. Like I'd said, VBIV, it's shortable. It's kind of crapping out the other way a bit. Speaking about crapping out the other way, really quickly, I was excited about this stock going into the afternoon, although now at this point, it doesn't look as if it's ready to make this big continued move up. VXRT, we've been following this stock, a lot more on than off over the last month or so. Ended up making a nice gap early on this morning, or at least early pre-market run. Going into the market open, it held resistance off of 8 pretty nicely. Ended up making a second move up here just a moment ago. We were watching this just a moment ago, myself and one of our students in coaching. We ended up jumping in right over, right here, 775. I got in 779 on the pullback right here on this bar. Got out under 8 at like 797. I was hoping, though, to see a higher low. I was hoping to see this make a blast over 8. There still might be time to see this make a move up to 8 and hopefully over 8, just it hasn't really made a higher low just yet. We'll come back to it. I don't want to put my bias towards this stock ahead. It's dropping off right now. I mean, maybe if this could begin to get back over the 775 here and hold, then I'll put this back on our list, VXRT here. All right. Conveniently enough, right next to each other, the two tongue twister symbols, NIO and INO. So we had a comment on here from YouTube saying, NIO, another great run, but probably done for today. Tell me about it, Peter. I mean, we had this stock on our list going into the afternoon, whereas Plug yesterday, we did not. NIO ended up making a very strong bounce and ended up making a very strong move back up going into the close, right? So obviously today, this thing just, ended up, it took a bit of time, but broke out above resistance off that 1150 level, 1155. But ended up making a much bigger move than I or really any one of us here in the trading room had hoped for. So, ended up doing much better, really, than we had hoped. So this NIO trade going into the afternoon, it's hard for me to not put this on our list, just given how strong it is going into the close here, still near the highs. It is shortable. If it craps out the other way with the market, then perhaps, we could follow that. But, for right now, we'll put this back on our list. Good call. And then also we had NIO and then the other one, right? INO. It was right under it right here. Yeah, Novio, another run up here, at least a recovery from the last few days dropping off. So INO ended up making a sharp pop, 21 up to 23.50. Ended up making a slow, steady trend off its bounce point, 21.50. So for right now, I'll put both on our list. NIO and INO, both still very volatile, very active. A lot of volume being traded per minute on both these stocks. All right. Guys, if there's anything else that's up that's looking good, let me know here. I want to hop over to the losers list here first, see if there's anything looking just as good. As far as percent-wise, not really too many stocks that are down like 50, 60%. Couple cheapies here that were up big yesterday or maybe just down off of news this morning. EOLS, not really doing too much right now. The BYFC, this thing's been like a disaster just on the daily chart. Fun stock to day trade. Just on the daily chart, this thing's been a disaster. Solo down 20%, a healthy pullback from yesterday's run up. I still feel like there might be more left on this trade. So it did bounce off of 4, but for right now, I'm going to pass on this, at least for the afternoon. This one's not hard to borrow. MFGP. Almost seems too slow, right? It is hard to borrow. It is shortable. It's not hard to borrow. There's a huge iceberg order on the bid at 445, a 51,000 share order, alongside what we have here pretty much off the lows, 456. It's tradable. It's definitely level 1 too. For right now, I think even we'll just pass on this. QD looks like a better short, even cheaper. Dropping off pretty well. All right, I'm going to pass on this too, though, I feel. WKHS down another 12%. Is this due for a dead cat bounce? Ended up making a nice bounce shortly after the market opened up. Dumped off more, but bounced essentially over 14. Yeah, I think for right now we'll pass on this trade too. All right, guys, what else do we have? Anything in the trading room? Anything across social media, Facebook, YouTube? That MOGU Pat says taking off as a big spread. You may have jinxed it, Pat. Dropping off pretty nicely right now, at least. But yeah, the spread's fluctuating up and down. Definitely more of a level 3 to 4 stock at least. Got from Cliff saying CCL sinking, the airlines, cruise lines dropping off pretty well. All right, so that could be a good time to check in on the side list stocks here. NCLH down 4 plus. It's at the lows right now. I haven't been as interested in this trade of late. I've been following this on level 3 and as well as on as we call nickname level 4 book map. It's been trading a lot differently over the last 2 weeks, I'd say. It's hard to explain it without showing it, but a lot more algo trading we're seeing on the order book. So it's been a little bit more odd of a trade, this NCLH. But, I mean, hey, it's dropping off with the market. I mean, the other airlines and cruise lines are dropping off pretty well here, too. UAL, at least bouncing, but steady drop just a moment ago. Delta's pretty sharp drop here. This one's doing a little bit better on the way down. I'll tell you, I mean, at least for now, I'll put Delta, DAL out of those just on the main list. But it looks like this could be a good day to follow some of those stocks altogether. From Scott, I'm sorry, Scott, just scrolling up here on the chat board in the trading room here. Scott calling out Watt at the high of the day. Yeah, it is. It is. Up 16%. I don't know if I looked at this or not, Scott, but definitely a good call. We've been following Watt on and off over the last, month or so, we'll call it. Huge pop going back into early June from 2 up towards just about 350 and above. Making a push up towards major resistance 350 right now, 39,000 share order on the ask. Yeah, good call. You sold me into it. Not literally, I didn't just buy this, guys, but you sold me on putting this on the list at least, Scott. Good call. What else do we have? From YouTube, Peter calling out Shell on the losers list. Volume's too light on the book. I'm not really too big on the stock right now. I feel like it's due for a bounce eventually, given its run up over the last week. Also, though, just keep in mind the stock was breaking even all-time highs, so this might be dropping off a little bit further before we get that eventual bounce, Peter. So, I hope it's soon, but for right now, I'm not going to put this on our main list. VSLR strong run, but looks as if it's topping off. Well, that's exactly why I put this on the list, though, because it is shortable, at least for those of us with TradeStation. If this craps out the other way, and really craps out the other way, then perhaps this would be a good opportunity to short. All right, I think that just about does it, guys. We got a few on the side list we'll just check in with before we really finish up. SRNE doing pretty good still, holding strong near the highs. It's one that we are pretty familiar with, so Scott sold me on Watt. I'm selling myself on SRNE here, so we'll add SRNE on our watch list right now. Hopeful that this just ends up making a strong test and break over 750. The CRVS trade, very heavily traded. I mean, I'm hopeful for this to make any sort of move up or down today, but it doesn't really seem to be in the cards. Definitely going to keep this stock in mind for tomorrow and rest of the whole week. For a stock to be shortable and up 95+%, you're expecting a bit further of a drop off here. And if not, then hopefully this ends up making the big run that we were hoping for, at least from the pre-market. All right, then the last one I think was the VXRT. It's getting back up to that 775. All right, so this one I'll add as well. I'm just more hopeful that this one ends up making the push up to 8 that I was expecting earlier. All right, so we have a decent list, guys, in terms of length and in terms of a couple of stocks making some good setups at this time. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 stocks in total. And aside from that, of course, for all of us here inside our trading room, we'll look to call out a couple further, perhaps around 3:15, 3:30 Eastern time. We'll look to rescan the market a bit further and see if there's anything else out aside. All right, guys. Aside from that, though, just keep in mind for all of us tuning in on the live stream, if you'd like to learn more about Cyber Trading University, just call the phone number down below. But on top of that, for everybody here, for all of us inside our live trading room, for all of us on the stream here, keep in mind, shortly after the market closes today, we have our live closing bell webinar series lined up. So at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time, we have our special guest, Tom Sosnov of Tasty Trade. He'll be coming on to demonstrate his platform and answer any questions that you guys have. So I know that Fausto posted the announcement earlier inside the trading room. If you guys have any questions, for all of our students here at least, if you guys have any questions, just email Fausto. I'll repost that here in the trading room for right now. And again, for anyone tuning in on the social stream here, if you'd like to register for that event, just make sure that you guys click the link that's in the chat board here, in the social chat board. Otherwise, just go right to our website, cybertradinguniversity.com. Right from that point, guys, it's right on our homepage. You'll see it right there once you go to our website. You'll be able to click a link, just register right away for the event coming up this afternoon. All right, guys, aside from that, let's try and close out this Tuesday just as well as we had opened it up. Take care.